Have you ever killed an acolyte so hard the game didn't even realize that they were dead yet?
On a scale 1 to 10, she 100. Gets everything that she wants in abundance. Knows how to be a lady in public, but she can get crazy. Ooh, I love it. She got a lot of weight in her luggage. And shorty ain't bluffing. She might snap on you like it's nothing. Everything I thought I knew is redundant.
Explosive temper. I hear smoke detectors. If I don't surrender, she might hold a lecture.
Every apology's a token gesture. I'm sorry, baby, I don't know no better. You get mad when I show no effort and turn.
What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new WARFRAME video taking a look at Baruuk Prime with some Giga Chat builds that one-shot steal path. How to describe Baruuk for players who don't know him? Well, think of him as Jackie Chan, who clearly is some dude who is trying to mind his own business, or just not familiar with the local customs, and gets into trouble with the wrong crowd. At the same time, he's clearly trying to avoid trouble, but the people keep pushing many of his buttons, and then he snaps and unleashes a massive can of butt whoop on them. Yep, that's Baruuk. His passive is very simple. Every time he uses his first 3 abilities to disarm, dodge, and incapacitate his foes, it erodes his restraint meter, seen on the bottom right. As his restraint meter gets eroded, he gets 50% damage reduction. And as the restraint meter erodes, it allows him to use his 4th ability. His first ability is a channeling ability, meaning it drains energy per second. While this ability is active, he is able to dodge any form of attack, but only when he is not attacking. It's pretty stupid, I know. The angle scales off range, so you need 200% range to hit the 360-degree angle, meaning dodging from all sides. You're also a victim to AoE splash damage from enemies. This is usually the ability a sane individual would Helminth off or never use. Dodging attacks while this ability is active erodes his restraint meter. It does synergize with his 3rd ability, increasing its seeking range. Lull, the 2nd ability, primarily used to erode the restraint meter faster. This ability slows down enemies till they stop dead in their tracks and go to sleep. After waking up, they lose their alertness and become disorientated for a brief moment. While asleep, enemies are open to finishers, and the sleep and pulse wave of the abilities is affected by duration. While the ability is pulsing out, you cannot recast it till the countdown has ended. This, of course, is due to your duration. The enemies cannot be put back to sleep after they have fallen into their slumber, and this ability only erodes the restraint meter if the enemies are actually put to sleep. Enemies put to sleep won't be woken up by the attacks of your 3rd ability. Desolate Hands, the 3rd ability. This is Baruuk's tanking ability and the 2nd best eroding tool. He summons daggers surrounding him, giving him damage reduction while seeking out enemies to damage and disarm them. Number of daggers scales of power strength, and each dagger grants 10% damage reduction, capping out at 90% with 9 daggers. Increasing your dagger count past 9 daggers does not increase damage reduction, but helps out in disarming enemies while still retaining that damage reduction, because each enemy disarmed consumes a dagger, and each disarmed target erodes your restraint meter. Allies also gain some damage reduction while near him, as he can share it with them without an augment. This shared damage reduction is capped out at 50% and does not consume Baruuk's daggers. And finally, when Baruuk loses it, he activates Serene Storm, his 4th ability, which has him wield his exalted melee, the Desert Wind. While this ability is active, Baruuk gains additional damage reduction which scales of power strength and caps out at 40%. This damage reduction only applies if he is using the melee. He loses that 40% when he uses his guns. The melee shoots out waves that deal damage in a cone shape that even penetrate through walls. The damage of this ability scales of power strength, combo counter, equipped melee mods, and melee damage multipliers from arcanes, auras, and abilities. So yes, I highly advise for you to build up combo or even more damage. And since this is an exalted weapon, it cannot be equipped with acolyte mods such as Blood Rush and Weeping Wounds. It is affected by condition overload, but only on its physical melee contact hits and not the waves. Range mods affect his contact hits but not the waves, and also does not affect the slam radius on ground slam attacks. Faction mods do work on his Desert Wind, but in most cases you will do insane amounts of damage that you won't need them in most instances of your gameplay. But they are a huge damage increase regardless. Its base crit chance is at 50% with a 2x critical multiplier, which is same as Valkyr's Talons, and its main damage type is Impact. With that 1.0 follow through, it makes each hit count. The best thing is that with Sacrificial Steel, it takes it way above 100% crit chance, and if you're critting 100% of the time, your modding is now open for even more useful multipliers to further increase its damage output. In these builds, I'll be using his 4th ability Augment, Reactive Storm. This mod has Baruuk's Desert Wind attacks adapt to enemies' weaknesses while also increasing its status chance. This weakness adaptation procs when the base impact damage procs on the enemy and not all of his attacks. And of course, the status chance multiplier scales of power strength. To further boost Baruuk's damage output, I have equipped nothing but the red Archon Shards for all that increased critical damage on melees. This increase from the Archon Shards is a flat value increase after all bonuses are applied. Alright, now that you understand how the Warframe works, I should go into the builds. I have 2 builds for you guys surrounding his 4th ability, and both builds will use the same Desert Wind build, with slight variations depending on the faction you're up against. Hopefully, knowing full well, if you don't perform the correct rotations or have the mods and arcanes, you won't be seeing similar effects or damage numbers. Now the first build is using Pull, a Helminth ability from Mag. This build is similar to my Airburst Baruuk released a while back, but now with less energy consumption, better crowd control, and more range. Pull has a base cost of 25 energy. This Helminth is used to clump up enemies into a pile so I can hit them with my physical hits to aid Baruuk in building up combo. And this also works as a nice crowd control tool that doesn't scale off duration, so perfect for a negative duration build, which this happens to be. Reminder, waves do not build combo, only physical contact hits do. In the aura, I have Brief Respite for the energy to shield conversion. This is used to replenish my shields so I get another instance of a max shield gate. Pair this up with auger mods on my secondary and a decaying dragon key to reduce your max shields, so you have less to regenerate. Prime Sure-Footed for the stagger and knockdown resistance. If you do not have this, use Handspring. You are a melee Warframe. Spending less time on your butt is a huge DPS increase. Power strength at 298% with Umbral Intensify, Transient Fortitude, and Blind Rage, which increases my dagger count to 23, enough to disarm enemies while retaining your damage reduction. This power strength increases my overall damage and grants me 745% status chance on my Serene Storm, thanks to Reactive Storm. Duration at 13% with a max fleeting expertise and transient fortitude. This negative duration is used to reduce the duration on my second ability, so I can cast it consecutively, because enemies have to be put to sleep for you to erode your restraint meter, meaning lower duration, enemies go to sleep and instantly wake up, which can then be put back to sleep to rapidly further erode that restraint meter. And this also works while your 4th ability is active. Please keep this in mind. And this is the only ability in Baruuk's kit that scales with duration. Stretch to increase the range for both my Helminth and 2nd ability. You want range, but also not too much range, because then the 3rd ability will be used up way too quickly. Currently, with this much range, the daggers have an 8-meter reach. Natural talent for the increase in casting speed to aid all my abilities. Rolling guard for the 3 seconds of invulnerability and cleanses you of status effects. For the arcanes, always make sure you have Arcane Strike. It is more important than Arcane Fury because Baruuk needs attack speed and a lot of it. It's a huge DPS increase. And finally, Arcane Energize for the energy regen. Taking a look at the Desert Wind build, it is heavily influenced by raw damage because with the Augment, I am well over 100% status chance. 2 Umbral Formas, so I can easily fit the 2 Sacrificial mods for the increasing crit chance. Trust me, you don't need this, but why not do this? You can use Sacrificial Steel alone with Prime Pressure Point, and it's still fine. You will still hit red crits with a synergy. Modifier Corrosive for universal purposes, and even better, that Prime Fever Strike is a large elemental damage multiplier to further boost your damage. If you're up against Corpus, simply swap Shocking Touch with a Toxin mod. If up against Infested, use Heat instead. For gas, double attack speed mods with Berserker and Quickening. Berserker grants a larger attack speed multiplier compared to Prime Fury and more accessible to the majority of the player base, and Quickening for the additional attack speed and chance to build up combo. Quickening can be substituted with a faction mod if you want a damage increase. And finally, the 2 crit damage mods. Since you're critting 100% of the time, you're better off multiplying the damage when you crit. A very straightforward and destructive build. To maximize damage even further, building up combo is necessary, and building up melee combo counter increases Baruuk's Desert Wind damage by 3.75 times. I highly recommend to clump up the enemies and use slide attacks, as that has a higher damage multiplier, counts as a physical contact strike, and a multi-hit, or jump and strike while looking downwards to slam attack. This also counts for building up combo, but not the radial wave from the slam. All of this is to further increase your damage output and kills per second. For consistent red crits on your Desert Wind, use your equipped melee. Just put 3 gladiator mods and don't use the melee. Build up combo on the Desert Wind to increase your crit chance via an external source. Just make sure you do not take combo pausing melees like Zorus or the Tenet melee weapons, as they can mess up your combo build up for the gladiator set while using your Desert Wind. So don't build combo on anything else except Desert Wind. And if you accidentally build up combo on your equipped melee, just heavy attack to reset your combo and go into your Serene Storm. The second build, which will have you do even more damage than the previous one, and more cater to the general Warframe player base who are going into base Steel Path, meaning around the 2-hour mark. For this build, I'm using Nourish, the Helminth ability from Grendel. This infuses my weapons with viral damage, and retaliates with viral splash damage when enemies attack me. Not only that, I gain an energy multiplier that can substitute Arcane Energize, meaning it is way more affordable, and a build that can have you turn off your brain just a little bit and not have to worry about refreshing your shield gates, but still have a shield gate because all you need to do is have shields to shield gate. And this also means you don't need a decaying dragon key. In the aura, I have Steel Charge for the increase in melee damage and additional mod capacity. Again, handspring in the Exilus if you do not have Prime Surefooted. Power Strength is slightly higher because I did replace Stretch with Umbral Vitality to beef him up a bit, and replaced Fleeting Expertise with Augur Message, so I can at least have some duration, giving Nourish a 24-second buff uptime. This mod also grants you additional shield regen along with overshields. Instead of Rolling Guard, I have Adaptation that pairs insanely well with damage reduction and a larger shield pool. And now in the Arcanes, you can finally run Arcane Fury, since we did not need Arcane Energize for this build. And to maintain my combo counter on Desert Wind, just simply equip your primary and secondary weapons with the Dexterity Arcane for the combo duration, bringing Desert Wind to a 20-second duration. Or use the Nariman Focus School for the Power Spike node to help with maintaining combo without fully decaying. However, for even more damage, I use the Madurai Focus School for the Power Strength increase with Sling Strength, and Power Transfer for the casting speed increase to make his entire kit even more fluid. Since these builds do not use silence, let's say you encounter violence and you get kicked out of your Serene Storm. You need a way to kill him. Well, you just need to have a decent primer weapon that can 1 or 2 tap him. I have the Kuvazar modded for corrosive because the Acolytes have ferret armor and just get nuked from this weapon. You don't need faction damage mods on an Acolyte killing weapon. And in the Arcane slot, you can see I have primary Dexterity. And my secondary is an Epitaph with 2 Archer mods, a basic Virulent Heat build with Fulmination to prime enemies in a larger area, while also adding on to Brief Respite for even more shield regen, and of course the Dexterity Arcane. But wait, what if you're in the Void or in a Corpus map and you're dealing with nullifiers and violence appears and you get kicked out of your Serene Storm? Well, you can use the Miter in the primary slot to one-shot nullifier bubbles using the Neutralizing Justice Augment, have a bunch of multi-shot there and other utility mods. And now your secondary weapon is going to be there to kill violence. I have the Spore Lacer Kit Gun built with Haymaker and Splat, raw damage, corrosive, and crits similar to the Tsar, and of course 2 Augur mods and Dexterity Arcane. Lastly, for my companions, I'm using the Panzer Volpophyla, since it's the best companion to stay alive in longer Steel Path missions. For this Nourish build, there is no grouping ability, so you can use the Operator Arcane Magus Anomaly. By simply going in and out of your Warframe, you will pull in enemies within a 30-meter radius. And you'll be doing this naturally because you're using the Madurai Focus School for the Power Transfer and Sling Strength. Alright folks, these are the Baruuk Prime builds using his Desert Wind to nuke Steel Path, and a different take to my previous Baruuk build. Pretty much the same concept, but this is more efficient in several situations. You can take Silence, but no need. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it informative. If you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more, and as always, peace.